The border no one crosses the galaxy is mapped, every system, every planet, every route. The Galactic Union keeps records, traders, soldiers, and scientists travel freely between the stars. Except for one place. Human space. No one enters it, not even by mistake, because every species knows the silent rule: you do not cross the line. And no one ever says why. Captain Velcorn was not afraid of rules. He was a varnicophoride, sharp-tongued species known for curiosity and fast ships. His crew worked a merchant route near the edge of the Orion Arm. Business was slow, profits were low, and Vel was bored. He looked at his map. There it was, a gray wall on the star chart. No stars, no names, just a blank area labeled Human Zone. He zoomed in, still nothing. The map refused to show what was inside. His first officer, Laura, noticed. "You're not thinking of going near that line, are you?" she asked. Vel smirked. "I'm only looking." Laura frowned. Others who looked too closely never came back. The next day, they passed close to the edge. The ship's AI warned them, approaching restricted coordinates. Human territory begins in 0.3 parsecs. Vel turned to Laura. "See, no weapons, no patrol ships, no warning beacons. It's just space." She crossed her arms. "It's not empty, it's quiet." "That's worse." Vel didn't answer. He slowed the ship and crossed the line. At first, nothing changed. No alarms, no reaction. Just stars outside the window and quiet engines. The crew waited. 1 hour passed. Nothing. Vel relaxed into his chair. "See, nothing but superstition." But then, the ship's lights flickered. For just a second, then again, minor power surge, the engineer said. Could be the nebula field, but there was no nebula nearby. Then the crew noticed something else. The stars outside the ship's windows were still. Not moving, not twinkling. Frozen. Laura stared. "They're not stars, they're reflections." The crew gasped. Their navigation system stopped working. Every screen displayed the same message: return. Just that, no source, no signal. Origin. Vel leaned forward. "Who sent this?" The message repeated. Over and over. Suddenly, the AI stopped speaking, dead silent. Laura ran a diagnostic. "It's not broken, it's ignoring us." The engineer checked engine logs. "We've stopped moving," he said slowly. "But we didn't stop, we're still pushing forward." Vel looked outside. The ship wasn't drifting. It was stuck. Held in place by nothing. No force, no gravity. Just silence. And then, they heard it. Not over the speakers. Not through the AI, but inside their heads. A whisper: "You were told." Every crew member turned pale. Vel grabbed the comm controls. "This is Captain Velcorn of the merchant vessel Silverwing. We request peaceful exit from this space." No answer. Just that same feeling. Like something ancient was watching. Lights flickered again. A loud thud echoed through the ship. But no alarms. No breach. No sign of anything outside. Just that feeling. Closer now. Laura turned to Vel. "We need to leave." He nodded. "Reverse course, full thrust." The ship turned, engines pushing hard. But movement was slow. Like flying through water. Every screen still flashed. "Return." Finally, after minutes that felt like hours, they broke through. Back across the invisible border, outside human space, everything returned to normal. Stars twinkled. AI spoke again. Systems rebooted, but no one cheered. They were quiet, shaken. Laura looked at Vel. "You saw it too, didn't you?" He nodded. "The stars didn't move, and the stars weren't real." She whispered. He stared at the blank section on the map again. Still empty. Still silent. But now, he understood something. That line? It wasn't drawn by the Galactic Union. It was drawn by the humans, and it wasn't to keep people out. It was to keep something else in. The silence on a Captain Velcorn could not stop thinking about what he saw. The stars had looked frozen. The ship had stopped without stopping, and something had whispered into his crew's minds. They had crossed the edge of human space and returned, barely. Now, back at a Union outpost. The ship's logs made no sense. No warnings. No records. The ship's AI reported nothing out of the ordinary. As if it had all never happened. But Vel remembered. They all did. Most captains would turn back. Forget the strange zone, never cross that line again. But Vel was not most captains. He wanted answers. Not just for himself but for the galaxy. So, 2 days later, he plotted a new course, deeper this time, straight into human space. His crew argued. "This is suicide." Laura said. "We were lucky to escape once. The next time, there's a pattern." Vel interrupted. "The stars. The stillness, something is there, something the galaxy should know, but they already know." She snapped. "That's why no one crosses that line." Vel turned to her. "Then why is it not in the records? Why do they only whisper about it?" No one had an answer, not even the AI. It simply displayed the same cold warning: "Human territory detected. Proceed at your own risk." Vel leaned forward. "Proceed." They entered the zone again. This time, deeper. Much deeper. At first, things were calm. No flickers, no sounds, no whispers. But slowly, everything began to change, not all at once but piece by piece. The stars behind them disappeared, not dimmed. Gone. Like the space outside the ship was closing. One by one, the navigation sensors went blind. No readings. No light. No sound. Even the hum of the engines felt distant, like it was underwater. Vel's voice echoed strangely through the ship's halls. As if the ship was getting hollow. In the second hour, the crew discovered something shocking. There were structures in the distance, not natural. Shapes too perfect, black towers floating far apart in space, each hundreds of kilometers tall, without markings or lights, and yet, they gave off presence. Lura stared at them on the screen. They looked like monuments. Vel narrowed his eyes. No, they're walls. Suddenly, the ship's lights went dark. Emergency power kicked in. The ship hadn't been damaged. It had been quietly disabled. All screens went black. All systems locked, and then one screen turned on, a small panel in the center of the bridge. It displayed one line of text. Why are you here? No sound. No voice. Just that question. Vel slowly typed back, we seek understanding. The screen blinked, then displayed, you were told once. Vel hesitated. Then replied, we came in peace. No response for several minutes. Then finally, not everything in here is human. The panel shut off. Every system returned to normal, but the ship had been moved. By something. Outside the window now stood a giant shape, not a ship, not a station. It was a structure like nothing ever seen, a cube the size of a moon, floating in the dark, pulsing softly like a heartbeat. Vel's engineer whispered, I think it's alive. Suddenly, a deep sound filled the bridge, a voice. Cold, timeless, not male or female. It said, turn back, before it wakes. The voice was not angry. It was sad. Tired. Vel looked at Lura. She shook her head. Whatever humans are hiding, it's not a weapon, it's something else, something worse. Vel gave the order, reverse course, now. The ship turned. As it moved, the stars slowly returned. One by one, the noise faded. The whispering stopped, the pressure lifted. When they crossed back into Union space, everything felt normal again, but it wasn't. Back on the outpost, the ship's new logs showed coordinates never before seen. The data was encrypted, scrambled, like it didn't want to be read. The Union intelligence officer who reviewed it simply said, this must not be shared. Vel asked why. The officer only answered, because you came back. Vel never spoke of it again, but in his private quarters, he stared at one frozen image from the trip, a black cube, floating in a dark sea, and the faint trace of a symbol human. Whispers from the void. Captain Velkorn could not sleep even days after escaping human space. His mind was filled with the black cube, the frozen stars, and the voice that warned, turn back before it wakes. But what was it, and why did the humans draw the line, not to keep others out, but to keep something in? Vel needed answers. And he had a plan. Far from the Union's eyes, there was an abandoned deep space relay station, codenamed DSR-7. It floated near the edge of human space, once used by early explorers before the border was declared. Now, it was quiet. Derelict. Forgotten. And maybe useful. Vel's crew docked with the spinning station. The lights were dead. The corridors dusty, but the core memory bank still held something. Vel ordered his engineer to plug in and recover old logs. Lura stayed near the airlock, watching the stars outside. Something felt off. No movement. No noise. No light from distant suns. It was the kind of quiet that pressed against the skin, the kind that watched you back. Inside the relay station, Vel found the first working console. It blinked to life with old Union code. A message appeared, last transmission, level 3 secured. Do not approach black site. He frowned. A black site here? His engineer pushed deeper into the archive. A video file loaded, fuzzy but real. The screen showed a human. Gray uniform, sharp eyes, cold voice. She stood in front of a map of the galaxy. Most of it lit, except one part, human space, she said. We found it in the quiet, sleeping, at the center of gravity itself. Not alien, not ancient, something else. We did not create the line to keep you out. We created it so we would not fail again. Then the screen went black. Vel sat back in silence. She's not talking about a weapon, Lura said softly. Vel nodded. No, she's talking about a presence. Do you still want to know the truth? She asked. Vel stood, now more than ever. They accessed the locked level in the relay station. The door screeched open slowly, revealing a narrow corridor filled with strange equipment, old data disks, broken monitors, cracked helmets, and something else, a small room, dark and cold, with one chair facing a single screen. On that screen, a line of text. Are you ready to hear it? Vel approached slowly. The words changed. Once you know, you can't forget. He touched the console. The screen showed a map. At the center was a shape. Not a planet, not a station, something twisting, shifting like a storm caught in space. The file called it the root. It had no size. No time. No fixed place. It moved when you know bserved. It whispered across systems. It listened, and it had responded once, just once, when humans entered its domain. The next log played. A human voice, distorted, tired, spoke. We built the line as a warning, not a wall. We stay quiet not to scare you, but to protect you. It speaks in thought. It bends what is real. We do not control it, we watch it, because no one else should. Then static. Then silence. Vel looked at the screen. One final message faded in. It is waking again. Suddenly, the station lights flickered. The walls groaned. The ship outside sent a warning. Strange readings. Gravity pulse detected. Source unknown. Vel grabbed the data core. Back to the ship, now. As they ran down the corridor, they heard it, not from the speakers, not from the ship, but from the space itself. A voice, not human. Not words, just presence. Lura covered her ears. It's inside my head, Vel whispered. It knows. They launched. As the ship moved away, the station behind them cracked apart, not exploded. Split. As if peeled open. From inside. What came out? They didn't see clearly, only a dark shape, like space had folded inward, then gone. Back into the shadows. On the ship, Lura looked at Vel. It wasn't just a line, it was a warning sign. Vel opened the recovered log and stared at the final frame. A single human eye staring forward with one last message. If you enter our space, you risk your mind. We learned that the hard way. Now it's your turn. Asterisk. The line was drawn for a reason. Ship moved. Faster than it ever had. Captain Velcorn stood on the bridge, eyes fixed on the black space behind them. They had left the dead relay station. They had taken the human log, but they were not alone. Something was following them, and it wasn't using engines. Outside the ship, sensors picked up nothing. No ships, no trails, no signals, but the space behind them felt wrong. Stars bent slightly, light twisted, and something unseen was keeping pace. Lura's voice was quiet. It's not chasing us, it's following us. Vel nodded. It doesn't need to catch us. It just wants to know where we're going. The AI spoke up. Unidentified gravitational disturbance detected. Source unknown. Warning. Trajectory intersecting with Union space in 8 hours. Vel's blood ran cold. If that thing crossed the border, what would it do? What could it do? He tapped the console. Transmit alert to Union command. The AI paused. Transmission blocked. No external channels available. They were still inside human space, still trapped inside the line, back in the crew quarters. Lura stared at the recovered log. One part hadn't played earlier, a short video. A human woman stood in a dim room, her face pale and serious. We warned them, she said. We drew the line not to scare others, but to stop ourselves. Behind her, strange lights flickered. She continued, you think you found something. You didn't, it found you. Then she looked directly into the camera. If it follows you beyond this point, the galaxy ends. Lura rushed back to the bridge. Vel, she said, it's not just a threat to us. It's a threat to everything. Vel didn't answer because outside the window something had appeared, a shape, not a ship, not a creature. Just darkness. A smooth, slow-moving shadow that stretched across the stars, but not blocking light, absorbing it. The crew fell silent. And then the AI stopped working. Again. All screens went black except one. It showed the same line on the map, human border, and a blinking word, closed. The ship jerked, alarms blared, the engines began to overheat. Even though they weren't pushing forward, something's pulling us, the engineer shouted. No. Vel said, it's not pulling. He looked into the shadow. It's calling. Then just when the gravity began to tear at the ship, it stopped. The force disappeared, engines cooled. Silence returned. The shadow paused. Then began to sink backward. Slowly. As if obeying some silent command. And then a message appeared on every screen. Not from the thing, but from somewhere else. The language was clean. Precise. And written in perfect galactic standard. You were warned. This space was sealed for your protection. What you woke cannot be destroyed. Only watched, return, and do not come back. Then the line on the map changed. It grew brighter. Thicker. And the word closed began flashing red. The ship's systems returned one by one. Sensors worked again. Communication restored. They were being let go. Not saved. Not rescued. Released. Vel stared at the screen, his voice dry. Humans, they didn't build weapons to protect their space. Lura whispered, they became the weapon. Vel finished. He leaned forward and sent a message to Union High Command. Do not cross the line again. It is not a border, it is a lock, back on Earth. Far below, in a command chamber hidden beneath the surface, a human commander watched the entire event unfold on a quiet screen. She didn't speak. She didn't smile. She simply turned off the Monitor. And whispered, "Not yet." Outside, above the clouds, a massive cloaked ship hovered silently. It had no name. It needed none. Its job was simple: watch the line, keep it closed. Forever. They watched because they must. Silverwing drifted quietly back into Union space. Captain Velcorn stared out the viewport, but his mind wasn't calm. They had crossed the border. They had seen the dark, and now they were back, but something didn't feel right. It felt wrong. Empty. Scan the hull, Vel said. The engineer tapped the console. No damage. No signs of tracking. Laura added, no transmission trail either. It's like we were erased from inside human space. Vel frowned. They had been watched carefully. But now that they were free, they couldn't shake the feeling something had watched them back. The ship docked at a Deep Space Union checkpoint. Medical officers arrived. Security agents reviewed the logs, but the files were scrambled. Random noise, unreadable code. One officer shook his head. It's like your system forgot where it was. Vel showed them the only image that remained, the shadow, a still, perfect outline of that moving darkness, captured just before it disappeared. The officer stared at it and said nothing, but later, he whispered to his team, they brought something back. Vel was quarantined for 48 hours, routine, they said, but the questions kept coming. Did you see any human ships? No. Did they speak to you? Only once. What did they say? Vel stared at the ceiling and whispered, they said. You were warned. On the third night, Vel woke up gasping, not from a nightmare but from a sound. He looked around his cabin. Nothing. Lights dim. Air filters quiet, but still. The sound, a deep hum. Not mechanical. Not even real. More like something his mind had remembered but could not explain. It came from the space outside. A call. He rushed to the observation deck. The stars shimmered normally, but one patch, one small black space between two constellations, felt too still, too clean. Laura joined him. You feel it too? Vel nodded. I think it followed us. She leaned against the glass. It didn't follow the ship. He turned to her, confused. She whispered, it followed you. Back in Union headquarters, scientists reviewed long-range scans of the border. Everything looked normal. Until one specialist noticed a soft echo barely detectable moving across the edge of human space. A signature without heat. Without mass. Just motion. It pulsed like a slow heartbeat. And it was moving closer. The humans knew. They were already watching on Earth. In a secret bunker miles underground. A panel lit up, a soft alarm pinged, a human officer read the data. One word glowed red, leak. She turned to Commander Era Holt. It got out. Era stood without speaking. Then whispered the code that no one wanted to hear. Glass protocol. The room fell silent. Back aboard Silverwing, Vel sat alone in the cargo bay. Something cold had started leaking from the walls. Not liquid. Not gas. Just stillness. Air without sound. Shadows where light should be. Then the whisper returned, not from outside. From inside his thoughts. Words he couldn't control. Images that weren't his. Memories he never lived. And always the same message. Watch. Wait. Do not wake it again. Suddenly, a flash. The room lit up. And standing before him was a human. Not through a door, not through teleportation. Just there, a tall man in a dark suit with calm eyes. Captain Velcorin, he said. You crossed the line. We watched you. Now we speak. Vel tried to speak, but no sound came. The man raised a hand. It's already inside you. That can't be undone. But we can help if you listen. Vel nodded. The human continued. There is a reason we stay silent. A reason our ships are invisible. Our weapons are not for war. They are for containment. Vel managed to whisper, contain what? The man didn't blink. It has no name. It has no origin. It is older than stars. We didn't create it. We found it, and we carry the weight so others don't have to. Then the man stepped back. Leave this place. Live quietly. Never return. Vel stood. And if others crossed the line? The man's face turned cold. They won't come back. And then he was gone. Outside. Above the checkpoint station, a massive shadow flickered just once, a ripple in the stars. Then silence. The Union never made that image public. It was filed under restricted class, human anomaly class. Omega. Vel was released. No more questions. No more visitors. But late at night, he still heard the whisper. A reminder they watch because they must. Asterisk. The line remained. Captain Velcorn returned to his homeworld 6 weeks later. He did not speak. During the flight, he did not answer Union messages. He simply watched the stars through the ship's window. But one thing was clear, he was not the same. Laura left the crew soon after. She disappeared into a quiet life on a remote moon. Far from trade lanes and signal towers, she told no one where she went, only that she wanted silence. Real silence, the kind she could still remember. From beyond the line, Vel kept the ship. Silverwing, he turned off its long-range engines. He shut down its AI, he stripped its nav beacons and tossed the star charts into space. He parked it in a ship graveyard near the edge of the Otrian belt, where rusted freighters drifted like old bones. Then he sat inside and waited. One night, a Union intelligence agent arrived. She asked no questions. Just offered him a single datapad. It showed a message, a new one. Simple. Short. Final. Another border breach was attempted. Coordinates, Sector 08 Delta, ship lost, crew unknown, object remains awake. Vel stared at the datapad for a long time, then handed it back without a word. The agent left. She didn't need his opinion, they already knew. The galaxy had grown quiet. Around the edges, merchants no longer flew near human space. Explorers changed course when their maps darkened, and the cartographers? They stopped asking questions, stopped drawing because the line was no longer a border. It was a wall. But what frightened the Union most wasn't the line itself. It was what lived beyond it. Not the darkness, not the thing that watched, but the ones who stood in front of it. The humans, the ones who said nothing, who asked for nothing, who made no threats, only one promise: if it wakes again, you won't see us. You'll only see what comes after. Vel had never fully understood what they meant. Until now. Late one evening, sitting alone in the Silver Wing, he activated one last video log. A copy of the human warning he had kept secret from the Union. It showed the black cube again, the shifting stars, the soft voice of the human woman. She said, "We don't guard it because we're strong. We guard it because we were the first to hear it speak. We heard the song before the stars. We saw what lies beneath space. And we chose to carry the silence, so the rest of you could keep your light." Vel sat in silence for a long time. Then he stood, walked to the console, and changed his ship's ID beacon. He renamed it Linekeeper. He would never cross the border again, but he would stay close, not to challenge, not to question, but to remember. And to make sure others did too. In the years that followed, the galaxy stopped calling it human space. They renamed it on the maps. To words. Simple. Final. The quiet, no explanation. No history. Just silence, and just like that, the line remained. No lights. No warnings, just a line drawn across the stars, and behind it, shadows watched. Patient. Unmoving. And very, very awake.